The Taj Mahal, one of the seven wonders in world, the pride of India. Taj Mahal was situated in Indian Territory headquarters. The love sign of historical love, crown of the palace, is an ivory white marble mausoleum on the right bank of the river Yamuna in Agra, Uttar Pradesh, India. It was commissioned in 1631 by the fifth Mughal emperor, Shah Jahan (1628–1658), to house the tomb of his beloved wife, Mumtaz Mahal. It also houses the tomb of Shah Jahan himself. The tomb is the centerpiece of a 17-hectare, 42-acre complex, which includes a mosque and a guest house, and is set in formal gardens bounded on three sides by a crenellated wall. Construction of the mausoleum was essentially completed in 1643, but work continued on other phases of the project for another 10 years. The first ceremony held at the mausoleum was an observance by Shah Jahan, on the 6th of February 1643, of the 12th anniversary of the death of Mumtaz Mahal. The mausoleum was opened at that time to thousands of mourners. The Taj Mahal complex is believed to have been completed in its entirety in 1653 at a cost estimated at the time to be around 32 million rupees, which in 2023 would be approximately 35 billion rupees, 498 million United States dollars. The construction project employed some 20,000 artisans under the guidance of a board of architects led by Ustad Ahmad Lahori, the emperor's court architect. Various types of symbolism have been employed in the Taj to reflect natural beauty and divinity. The Taj Mahal was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983 for being the jewel of Muslim art in India and one of the universally admired masterpieces of the world's heritage. It is regarded by many as the best example of Mughal architecture and a symbol of India's rich history. The Taj Mahal attracts 7 to 8 million visitors a year, and in 2007 it was declared a winner of the new Seven Wonders of the World 2000-2007 initiative. Abdul Hamid Lahori, in his book From 1636 Padshahnama, refers to the Taj Mahal as Rawza-i Munawwara, Perso-Arabic, Rada-i Munawwara, meaning the illumined or illustrious tomb. The current name for the Taj Mahal is of Urdu origin, and believed to be derived from Arabic and Persian, with the words Taj Mahal meaning crown, Taj palace, Mahal. The name, Taj, came from the corruption of the second syllable of Mumtaz. The Taj Mahal was commissioned by Shah Jahan in 1631, to be built in the memory of his wife Mumtaz Mahal, who died on the 17th of June that year, while giving birth to their 14th child, Gauhara Begum. Construction started in 1632, and the mausoleum was completed in 1648, while the surrounding buildings and garden were finished 5 years later. The imperial court documenting Shah Jahan's grief after the death of Mumtaz Mahal illustrates the love story held as the inspiration for the Taj Mahal. According to contemporary historians Muhammad Amin Qazvini, Abdul Hamid Lahori and Muhammad Salah Kambo, he did not show the same level of affection to others as he had shown her while she was alive. He avoided royal affairs for a week due to his grief, along with giving up listening to music and dressing lavishly for 2 years. Shah Jahan was enamored by the beauty of the land at the south side of Agra on which a mansion belonging to Raja Jai Singh I stood. This place was chosen for the construction of Mumtaz's tomb by Shah Jahan, and Jai Singh agreed to donate it to the emperor. The Taj Mahal incorporates and expands on design traditions of Indo-Islamic and earlier Mughal architecture. Specific inspiration came from successful Timurid and Mughal buildings including the Gur-e-Amir, the tomb of Timur, progenitor of the Mughal dynasty. In Samarkand, Humayun's tomb, which inspired the Charbagh Gardens and Hasht-Behesht architecture plan of the site, Ihmad-ud-Daula's tomb, sometimes called the Baby Taj, and Shah Jahan's own Jama Masjid in Delhi. While earlier Mughal buildings were primarily constructed of red sandstone, Shah Jahan promoted the use of white marble inlaid with semi-precious stones. Buildings under his patronage reached new levels of refinement. The tomb is the central focus of the entire complex of the Taj Mahal. It is a large, white marble structure standing on a square plinth and consists of a symmetrical building with an iwan, an arch-shaped doorway topped by a large dome and finial. Like most Mughal tombs, the basic elements are Indo-Islamic in origin. The base structure is a large multi-chambered cube with chamfered corners forming an unequal 8-sided structure that is approximately 55 meters, 180 feet, on each of the 4 long sides. Each side of the Iwan is framed with a huge pishtak or vaulted archway with 2 similarly shaped arched balconies stacked on either side. This motif of stacked pishtaks is replicated on the chamfered corner areas, making the design completely symmetrical on all sides of the building. 4 minarets frame the tomb, one at each corner of the plinth facing the chamfered corners. The main chamber houses the false sarcophagi of Mumtaz Mahal and Shah Jahan. The actual graves are at a lower level. The most spectacular feature is the marble dome that surmounts the tomb. The dome is nearly 35 meters, 115 feet, high, which is close in measurement to the length of the base, and accentuated by the cylindrical drum it sits on, which is approximately 7 meters, 23 feet high. Because of its shape, the dome is often called an onion dome or Amrit guava dome. The top is decorated with a lotus design, which also serves to accentuate its height. The shape of the dome is emphasized by 4 smaller domed chatras kiosks placed at its corners, which replicate the onion shape of the main dome. The dome is slightly asymmetrical. Their columned bases open through the roof of the tomb and provide light to the interior. Tall decorative spires guldastas extend from edges of base walls, and provide visual emphasis to the height of the dome. The lotus motif is repeated on both the chatras and guldastas. The dome and chatras are topped by a gilded finial which mixes traditional Persian and Hindustani decorative elements. The main finial was originally made of gold but was replaced by a copy made of gilded bronze in the early 19th century. This feature provides a clear example of integration of traditional Persian and Hindu decorative elements. The finial is topped by a moon, a typical Islamic motif whose horns point heavenward. The minarets, which are each more than 40 meters, 130 feet tall, display the designer's penchant for symmetry. They were designed as working minarets, a traditional element of mosques, used by the muezzin to call the Islamic faithful to prayer. Each minaret is effectively divided into 3 equal parts by 2 working balconies that ring the tower. At the top of the tower is a final balcony surmounted by a chhatri that mirrors the design of those on the tomb. The chatras all share the same decorative elements of a lotus design topped by a gilded finial. The minarets were constructed slightly outside of the plinth so that in the event of collapse, a typical occurrence with many tall constructions of the period, the material from the towers would tend to fall away from the tomb. The exterior decorations of the Taj Mahal are among the finest in Mughal architecture. As the surface area changes, the decorations are refined proportionally. The decorative elements were created by applying paint, stucco, stone inlays or carvings. In line with the Islamic prohibition against the use of anthropomorphic forms, the decorative elements can be grouped into either calligraphy, abstract forms or vegetative motifs. Throughout the complex are passages from the Quran that comprise some of the decorative elements. Recent scholarship suggests that Amanat Khan chose the passages. The calligraphy on the Great Gate reads, "O soul, thou art at rest. Return to the Lord at peace with him, and he at peace with you." The calligraphy was created in 1609 by a calligrapher named Abdul Haq. Shah Jahan conferred the title of Amanat Khan upon him as a reward for his dazzling virtuosity. Near the lines from the Quran at the base of the interior dome is the inscription, written by the insignificant being, Amanat Khan Shirazi. Much of the calligraphy is composed of florid thuluth script made of jasper or black marble inlaid in white marble panels. Higher panels are written in slightly larger script to reduce the skewing effect when viewed from below. The calligraphy found on the marble cenotaphs in the tomb is particularly detailed and delicate. Abstract forms are used throughout, especially in the plinth, minarets, gateway, mosque, jawab and, to a lesser extent, on the surfaces of the tomb. The domes and vaults of the sandstone buildings are worked with tracery of incised painting to create elaborate geometric forms. Herringbone inlays define the space between many of the adjoining elements. White inlays are used in sandstone buildings, and dark or black inlays on the white marbles. Mortared areas of the marble buildings have been stained or painted in a contrasting color which creates a complex array of geometric patterns. Floors and walkways use contrasting tiles or blocks in tessellation patterns. On the lower walls of the tomb are white marble dados sculpted with realistic bas-relief depictions of flowers and vines. The marble has been polished to emphasize the exquisite detailing of the carvings. The dado frames and archway spandrels have been decorated with pietra dura inlays of highly stylized, almost geometric vines, flowers and fruits. The inlay stones are of yellow marble, jasper and jade, polished and leveled to the surface of the walls. The interior chamber of the Taj Mahal reaches far beyond traditional decorative elements. The inlay work is not pietra dura, but a lapidary of precious and semi-precious gemstones. The inner chamber is an octagon with the design allowing for entry from each face, although only the door facing the garden to the south is used. The interior walls are about 25 meters (82 feet) high and are topped by a false interior dome decorated with a sun motif. 8 pishtak arches define the space at ground level and, as with the exterior, each lower pishtak is crowned by a second pishtak about midway up the wall. The 4 central upper arches form balconies or viewing areas, and each balcony's exterior window has an intricate screen or jalia grille lattice cut from marble. In addition to the light from the balcony screens, light enters through roof openings covered by chatras at the corners. The octagonal marble screen or jali bordering the cenotaphs is made from 8 marble panels carved through with intricate pierce work. The remaining surfaces are inlaid in delicate detail with semi-precious stones forming twining vines, fruits and flowers. Each chamber wall is highly decorated with dado bas-relief, intricate lapidary inlay and refined calligraphy panels which reflect, in little detail, the design elements seen throughout the exterior of the complex. Muslim tradition forbids elaborate decoration of graves. Hence, the bodies of Mumtaz and Shah Jahan were put in a relatively plain crypt beneath the inner chamber with their faces turned right, towards Mecca. Mumtaz Mahal's cenotaph is placed at the precise center of the inner chamber on a rectangular marble base of 1.5 by 2.5 meters 4 feet 11 in by 8 feet 2 in. Both the base and casket are elaborately inlaid with precious and semi-precious gems. Calligraphic inscriptions on the casket identify and praise Mumtaz. On the lid of the casket is a raised rectangular lozenge meant to suggest a writing tablet. Shah Jahan's cenotaph is beside Mumtaz's to the western side and is the only visible asymmetric element in the entire complex. His cenotaph is bigger than his wife's, but reflects the same elements. A larger casket on a slightly taller base precisely decorated with lapidary and calligraphy that identifies him. On the lid of the casket is a traditional sculpture of a small pen box. The pen box and writing tablet are traditional Mughal funerary icons decorating the caskets of men and women respectively. The 99 names of God are calligraphic inscriptions on the sides of the actual tomb of Mumtaz Mahal. Other inscriptions inside the crypt include noble, magnificent, majestic, unique, eternal, glorious. The tomb of Shah Jahan bears a calligraphic inscription that reads, "He traveled from this world to the banquet hall of eternity on the night of the 26th of the month of Rajab, in the year 1076 Hijri. The complex is set around a large 300-meter (980 feet) square charbagh or Mughal garden. The garden uses raised pathways that divide each of the 4 quarters of the garden into 16 sunken parterres or flower beds. Halfway between the tomb and gateway in the center of the garden is a raised marble water tank with a reflecting pool positioned on a north-south axis to reflect the image of the mausoleum. The elevated marble water tank is called Al-Had al-Kawthar in reference to the tank of abundance promised to Muhammad. Elsewhere, the garden is laid out with avenues of trees labeled according to common and scientific names and fountains. The Charbagh garden, a design inspired by Persian gardens, was introduced to India by Babur, the first Mughal emperor. It symbolizes the 4 flowing rivers of Jannah, paradise, and reflects the paradise garden derived from the Persian paradisa, meaning walled garden. In mystic Islamic texts of the Mughal period, paradise is described as an ideal garden of abundance with 4 rivers flowing from a central spring or mountain, separating the garden into north, west, south and east. Most Mughal charbaghs are rectangular with a tomb or pavilion in the center. The Taj Mahal garden is unusual in that the main element, the tomb, is located at the end of the garden. With the discovery of Mehtab Bagh or Moonlight Garden, on the other side of the Yamuna, the interpretation of the Archaeological Survey of India is that the Yamuna River itself was incorporated into the garden's design and was meant to be seen as one of the rivers of paradise. Similarities in layout and architectural features with the Shalimar Gardens suggests both gardens may have been designed by the same architect, Ali Mardan. Early accounts of the garden describe its profusion of vegetation, including abundant roses, daffodils, and fruit trees. As the Mughal Empire declined, the Taj Mahal and its gardens also declined. By the 19th century, the British Empire controlled more than 3/5 of India, and assumed management of the Taj Mahal. They changed the landscaping to their liking, which more closely resembled the formal lawns of London. The Taj Mahal complex is bordered on 3 sides by crenellated red sandstone walls. The side facing the river is open. Outside the walls are several additional mausoleums, including those of Shah Jahan's other wives, and a larger tomb for Mumtaz's favorite servant. Citation needed. These structures, composed primarily of red sandstone, are typical of the smaller Mughal tombs of the era. The garden-facing inner sides of the wall are fronted by columned arcades, a feature typical of Hindu temples which was later incorporated into Mughal mosques. The wall is interspersed with domed chatras, and small buildings that may have been viewing areas or watchtowers like the Music House, which is now used as a museum. The main gateway, Darwaza, is a monumental structure built primarily of marble, and reminiscent of the Mughal architecture of earlier emperors. Its archways mirror the shape of the tomb's archways, and its pishtak arches incorporate the calligraphy that decorates the tomb. It uses bas-relief and pietra dura inlaid decorations with floral motifs. The vaulted ceilings and walls have elaborate geometric designs like those found in the other sandstone buildings in the complex. At the far end of the complex are two grand red sandstone buildings that mirror each other and face the sides of the tomb. The backs of the buildings parallel the western and eastern walls. The western building is a mosque and the other is the Jawab answer, thought to have been constructed for architectural balance although it may have been used as a guest house. Distinctions between the two buildings include the Jawab's lack of a mihrab, a niche in a mosque's wall facing Mecca, and its floors of geometric design, whereas the floor of the mosque is laid with outlines of 569 prayer rugs in black marble. The mosque's basic design of a long hall surmounted by three domes is similar to others built by Shah Jahan, particularly the Masjid-i-Jahan Numa, or Jama Masjid, Delhi. The Mughal mosques of this period divide the sanctuary hall into three areas comprising a main sanctuary and slightly smaller sanctuaries on either side. At the Taj Mahal, each sanctuary opens onto an expansive vaulting dome. The outlying buildings were completed in 1643. The Taj Mahal is built on a parcel of land to the south of the walled city of Agra. Shah Jahan presented Maharaja Jai Singh I with a large palace in the center of Agra in exchange for the land. 48, an area of roughly 1.2 hectares, 3 acres, was excavated, filled with dirt to reduce seepage, and leveled at 50 meters, 160 feet, above the riverbank level. In the tomb area, piles were dug and filled with stone and rubble to form the footings of the tomb. Instead of lashed bamboo, workmen constructed a colossal brick scaffold that mirrored the tomb. The scaffold was so enormous that foremen expected it to take years to dismantle. The Taj Mahal was constructed using materials from all over India and Asia. It is believed over 1,000 elephants were used to transport building materials. Some 22,000 laborers, painters, embroidery artists and stonecutters were used. The translucent white marble was brought from Makrana, Rajasthan, the jasper from the Punjab region, jade and crystal from China. The turquoise was from Tibet and the lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, while the sapphire came from Sri Lanka and the carnelian from Arabia. In all, 28 types of precious and semi-precious stone were inlaid into the white marble. According to the legend, Shah Jahan decreed that anyone could keep the bricks taken from the scaffold, and thus it was dismantled by peasants overnight. A 15-kilometer (9.3 miles) tamped earth ramp was built to transport marble and materials to the construction site, and teams of 20 or 30 oxen pulled the blocks on specially constructed wagons. An elaborate post and beam pulley system was used to raise the blocks into the desired position. Water was drawn from the river by a series of piers, an animal-powered rope and bucket mechanism, into a large storage tank and raised to a large distribution tank. It was passed into 3 subsidiary tanks, from which it was piped to the complex. The plinth and tomb took some 12 years to complete. The remaining parts of the complex took an additional 10 years and were completed in order of minarets, mosque and jawab, and gateway. Since the complex was built in stages, discrepancies exist in completion dates due to differing opinions on completion. Construction of the mausoleum itself was essentially completed by 1643, while work on the outlying buildings continued for years. Estimates of the cost of construction vary due to difficulties in estimating costs across time. The total cost at the time has been estimated to be about 32 million rupees, which is around 52.8 billion rupees, $827 million US, based on 2015 values. Due to the global attention that it has received and the millions of visitors it attracts, the Taj Mahal has become a prominent image that is associated with India, and in this way has become a symbol of India itself. Along with being a renowned symbol of love, the Taj Mahal is also a symbol of Shah Jahan's wealth and power, and the fact that the empire had prospered under his rule. Bilateral symmetry dominated by a central axis has been used by rulers as a symbol of a ruling force that brings balance and harmony, and Shah Jahan applied that concept in the making of the Taj Mahal. Additionally, the plan is aligned in the cardinal north-south direction and the corners have been placed so that when seen from the center of the plan, the sun can be seen rising and setting on the north and south corners on the summer and winter solstices respectively. This makes the Taj a symbolic horizon. The planning and structure of the Taj Mahal, from the building itself to the gardens and beyond, is symbolic of Mumtaz Mahal's mansion in the Garden of Paradise. The concept of Gardens of Paradise is extended into the building of the mausoleum as well. Colorful vines and flowers decorate the interior, and are filled in with semi-precious stones using a technique called pietra dura, or as the Mughals called it, parchan kari. The building appears to slightly change color depending on the time of day and the weather. The sky has not only been incorporated in the design through the reflecting pools but also through the surface of the building itself. This is another way to imply the presence of Allah at the site. According to Ebba Koch, art historian and international expert in the understanding and interpretation of Mughal architecture and the Taj Mahal, the planning of the entire compound of the Taj symbolizes earthly life and the afterlife, a subset of the symbolization of the divine. The plan has been split into two. One half is the white marble mausoleum itself and the gardens, and the other half is the red sandstone side meant for worldly markets. Only the mausoleum is white so as to represent the enlightenment, spirituality and faith of Mumtaz Mahal. According to the world traveler Eleanor Roosevelt, the white symbolized the purity of real love. Koch has deciphered that symbolic of Islamic teachings. The plan of the worldly side is a mirror image of the otherworldly side, and the grand gate in the middle represents the transition between the two worlds. The Taj is also seen as a feminine architectural form, and is thought to embody Mumtaz Mahal herself. The Taj Mahal attracts a large number of tourists. UNESCO documented more than 2 million visitors in 2001, which had increased to about 7 to 8 million in 2014. A three-tier pricing system is in place, with a significantly lower entrance fee for Indian citizens and more expensive ones for foreigners. As of 2022, the fee for Indian citizens was 50 rupees, for citizens of SAARC and BIMSTEC countries, it was 540 rupees and for other foreign tourists, it was 1,100 rupees. Most tourists visit in the cooler months of October, November and February. Polluting traffic is not allowed near the complex and tourists must either walk from parking areas or catch an electric bus. The Kawaspura's northern courtyards are currently being restored for use as a new visitor center. In 2019, to address overtourism, the site instituted fines for visitors who stayed longer than 3 hours. The small town to the south of the Taj, known as Taj Ganji or Mumtazabad, was initially constructed with caravanserais, bazaars and markets to serve the needs of visitors and workers. Lists of recommended travel destinations often feature the Taj Mahal, which also appears in several listings of 7 wonders of the modern world, including the recently announced new 7 wonders of the world, a recent poll with 100 million votes. The grounds are open from 6 o'clock to 1900 hours on weekdays, except on Friday when the complex is open for prayers at the mosque between 12 o'clock and 1400 hours. The complex is open for night viewing on the day of the full moon and 2 days before and after, excluding Fridays in the month of Ramadan.